The New York Giants just got the best news of the season. Let's talk about it. My name is Paul. This is Big Apple Sports. Before we get going, do two things for me. First, please like and subscribe. And then second, who do you want to be the new head coach? Daboll is out. I think most people felt like that was the move that needed to happen. Let me know, who do you think should replace him? I always enjoy talking things out with you. We'll get into all of that, but first, the big news, you all know it. Brian Daboll has been fired. Joe Schoen remains as the general manager, and it kind of seems like that's going to be the case for the way that Mara was talking about it. I don't expect Joe Schoen to be fired in the offseason. In the meantime, Mike Kafka is going to serve as the Giants' interim coach. I'm excited to see that because he's been getting head coaching interviews elsewhere. If he does a really good job, I think you really have to consider him as one of the options because, right now the franchise is Jackson Dart. He is what you're going to sell head coaches on. This franchise is going to go as he goes. So to keep Kafka and have that continuity could be a good thing. So he's going to have an audition, and we'll see how he does. But I just wanted to break down the Brian Daboll era into a couple of wild tweets that I saw today. So first, these were all real games the Giants were in this year. Up by a field goal with 14 seconds left on the Cowboys. Up 2 scores in the second quarter on maybe the worst team in the NFL. Up 26-8 with 5 minutes left. And then, of course, yesterday, up 10 with 4 minutes left. And they lost all 4 of those games. It's things like that which are why Brian Daboll is now, updating his resume. And then just another one here for you. They had a 92% chance to beat the Cowboys, 99.3% against the Broncos, and a 96.9% chance to beat the Bears all late in the fourth quarter and lost all of them. Statistically, there is a 1 in 60,000 chance that a coach would lose all 3 of those games. So Brian Daboll hit the terrible coach lottery, getting those 1 in 60,000 odds. And at the end of the day, that's why he's gone. I think he's done a pretty good job developing Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart has looked good this year, but this team is too talented to be 2-8. They've been in so many close games against good teams. All 3 of these teams, maybe not quite as much the Cowboys, but they're fighting for the playoffs. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Chargers, who looked really good last night. This is a team that should be competing in every game and should be close to 500. They're that talented. But he just kept racking up spectacular loss after spectacular, improbable loss. And he's gone. So now the big question is, who is going to replace him? And obviously, I think you got to start the list with Mike Kafka. He's going to have an audition for a few weeks. Hopefully, Dart can, for his own sake, get out of concussion protocol and not have any long-term damage there. But then also for Kafka's sake, he's going to have a chance to show, hey, I can be the guy to lead Dart. And then, like I said at the beginning of the video, you guys, at some point in the video, get in the comments. I'm going to go over a few possibilities here. You let me know which one of these guys you like, or if there's a different guy you like. But I think in general, most times, especially in this day and age, you see teams lean offensive mind for their head coach. And I totally get that mentality. But I think this might be a unique situation where I personally almost favor a defensive mind. And that is because of how much confidence I have in Jackson Dart. You look at the Giants' opponent yesterday, the Bears. Caleb Williams is night and day last year versus this year. I truly believe he is somebody that, with a bad coach, he would end up being a bad quarterback. And with a good offensive-minded coach, it's looking like he might end up being a good quarterback. But Jackson Dart, he's already been down as top receiver, his running back. you see things break down, and you just see him throw laser beam after laser beam. He's reading defenses at a high level. He's making great throws. He's so mobile. Like, I truly believe he is going to succeed in whatever, like, no matter who is guiding this offense. I think Jackson Dart is that talented and that skilled that he can succeed no matter what. And so that begs the question then, what do we need in a coach? And to me, we need a coach who can get the most out of their players, both offensively and defensively. And then, of course, great late game management and managing these late game situations that Daboll continually has been losing. And I've really been leaning towards the defensive side of the ball because, like, there's so much talent there. Like, you look at the edge rushers we have and Dexter Lawrence and some of the high picks we've put into guys like Deonte Banks and Tyler Nubin. And it's just like the development hasn't been there. The scheme is not working. So, I mean, Shane Bowen needs to be the next to go. But at the end of the day, like, I think you bring in the right defensive mind, and I think this team has the talent to be a top 5 to 10 unit in the NFL. And I think the offense is going to be good because of Jackson Dart. So some of the names that have already been popping up, I really like Jesse Minter for the Chargers. You saw him last night on Sunday Night Football just pull down Aaron Rodgers' pants, one of the best quarterbacks to ever live. Yes, he's getting older, but he didn't, he was turning the ball over. He didn't know where to go with the ball. Like, he just completely destroyed one of the best QBs to ever live. And then you look at, I'm a little biased because I'm a Michigan fan. I've mentioned that a few times on the show, and he came from Michigan, but I know him well. And you look at, like, the Jim Harbaugh coaching tree, and it has been very impressive. Like, right now, one of the hottest, most impressive teams in the NFL is the Seattle Seahawks, led by Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald was the defensive coordinator for Michigan with Harbaugh, and then went to take the Ravens defensive coordinator job before becoming head coach. But his successor was Jesse Minter. He's a young, talented coach. He's completely transformed this Chargers defense. Like, this is a defense, like, real quick, try to name 3-4 players on that defense. Like, I know they got Derwin James and Khalil Mack. Like, he's getting a little older, but like, this is a defense that lost Joey Bosa in the offseason. They've got a few guys. Like, I'm not going to completely discount their talent, but they weren't getting a lot of this defense last year and the year before, and especially in the pre-Harbaugh era. And then Jesse Minter comes in, and now, like, a lot of these games the Chargers are winning are on the back of their defense. Another name, Cliff Kingsbury. This one's offensive side of the ball. I think he would be an interesting one. I know he didn't do super well with the Cardinals when he was the Cardinals head coach, but it's just tough to, like, some of these head coaches. I'm going to get into another one in a second in Robert Saleh, but, like, some of these coaches, it's like, were their teams bad because they were bad, or were their teams bad because the talent was bad? And like with the Jets and Robert Saleh, and with the Cardinals with Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think either of those teams were very good teams. And their coaches left, and they remained bad teams, maybe even got worse under their new coaching regimes. And then you just see, like, Saleh is such an amazing defensive coordinator. Kingsbury, he's done a great job with Jaden Daniels. So I think either one of them would be interesting. Obviously, you never love to, bring in a former failed head coach, but I think the job both of them have done, and then looking at what their teams looked like after they left, I think either one of them would be worth an interview. Clint Kubiak is another one. Like, I just talked about the Seahawks and their success under Mike Macdonald, but I remember coming into this year, I thought the Seahawks were going to be garbage. Everything I read about Sam Darnold was last year, when the pocket broke down, he was terrible. When he had a clean pocket, he was amazing. He was going from the Vikings, who had one of the best offensive lines, plus Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, which never hurts, to the Seahawks, who had one of the worst O-lines. And it seemed like it was going to be ugly in Seattle, and all of a sudden their offense looks like an absolute juggernaut this year. And Clint Kubiak deserves a lot of the praise for that. So maybe he's somebody worth a call. And then you got a couple interesting ones here at the bottom. A couple of older guys. I go back and forth on the age. It'd be really nice to have a young head coach who can spend his entire career with Jackson Dart. And I think both of these guys are too old. But personally, looking at these two guys, I am team Bill Belichick. And I think if he wants the job, you really have to consider going for him. And I know, people out there are saying, like, look at how bad he's been in North Carolina, and look what he did after Tom Brady left. He was terrible. And look at all the dysfunction with his girlfriend being at all these practices. And, like, I get it. And he might have too much baggage. I'm not going to shed any tears if they don't go for him. But he truly, like, statistically, he is maybe the best coach to ever live. And yes, I do think a lot of that is Tom Brady. But most coaches, if they have an all-time great player and that player retires, are going to see a little bit of regression. And with Belichick, you never saw a regression with his defense. I don't think he's wonderful on the offensive side of the ball. He needs to have an established quarterback. I don't trust him to pick one himself and develop him. But defensively, I think he could rebuild this defense and make it elite within a year. I think he's that good of a defensive mind. Did great work with the Giants defense back in the day as coordinator. And then Browns, Patriots, every stop he has transformed his team's defenses. And then kind of back to my original point, I really believe Jackson Dart is good enough to succeed under any coach. Yes, Bill Belichick was not good after Brady. Yeah, I wouldn't trust him to draft a new QB or to pair him with, if the Giants still had Daniel Jones, somebody who needs to be in the right system. But Jackson Dart really seems like he just has it. When you watch him play, it's just everything he does is so far ahead of where he should be at this point. And like I said, Daniel Jones looks like an MVP with the Colts. What did he look like under Daboll? And you see Jackson Dart looks super impressive and is putting up amazing stats in that system that a now current MVP candidate couldn't succeed in. So I truly believe Jackson Dart will succeed no matter who the coach is. So I want to see the best head coach, somebody who can get a lot out of the defense and somebody who can hold the team more accountable and build just a winning culture, like the way you see Dan Campbell, Dan Quinn, some of these other guys. And then one more thing I think would be great. If you're not going to, obviously if you get a Belichick, he's an established enough head coach that he'll be fine. But I really like what the Commanders and Bears, two kind of up-and-coming teams, have done, where they bring in a Dan Quinn, who's an amazing defensive mind, and they bring in Ben Johnson in Chicago, an amazing offensive mind. But on the other side of the ball, what did they do? They brought in a super experienced former head coach to run their other side of the ball. It's Kingsbury in Arizona, or in Washington. He had been Arizona's coach, and then Ben Johnson brought in the Saints' former coach Dennis Allen to be his defensive coordinator. And I think that's a great path forward for the Giants to take, where you can, you know what, if we're going to bring in a Kingsbury or a Saleh or a Jesse Minter, somebody who's really more experienced on one side of the ball, that's fine. But then if it's an offensive coordinator, we need to bring in a really established veteran defensive coordinator to run that defense. And if it's a defensive mind you bring in, then you need to find a really established offensive coordinator to run that offense. Seattle's another one with Kubiak. Mike McDonald, great defensive mind. They found the right pairing with him on the offensive side of the ball. If it's an offensive-minded coach, you can't have a new, never-been defensive coordinator running that defense, and vice versa if you hire a defensive mind. You got to have the other side of the ball with a really experienced coordinator, maybe even a former head coach who like you can just trust with that side of the ball, and you can focus on full team issues and then the side of the ball that you're more experienced with. So that's what I'm hoping out of the Giants coaching search. You guys let me know what you're hoping for. Who's your leading candidate? Who are you like, no, absolutely not. I do not want them on this team. Let me know in the comments. We'll talk it out. And then just like and subscribe, because I'm going to be talking coaching vacancies and keeping you up on all of the latest news until we get our new head coach. So don't miss out. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you tomorrow.